Welcome back, sporting fans, to another spectacular episode of the Paint the Wall podcast. I, as always, am your host, Steve, and I am joined this week by a man who believes Chester Cheeto would make a really good point guard, but you all know him as Logan.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen his handles. You just watch the commercials. You just got that feel of man, he'd be good.
Yeah, I guess that's true. The ball would be all dusty, though. Gross.
Yeah,
Same
but that'd
color, I guess, but
that'd be the advantage, though.
yeah, I guess that's true. As long as your team is familiar with it and ready to play with cheese all over it. But good point.
Exactly.
All right, well, let's quit having fun because this one's not going to be fun to talk about.
No, not really.
We, of course, are talking about our 3-2 loss to the LA Galaxy this past weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only good thing that comes out of this loss, or not good thing really, but the only not super annoying part is that at least we lost to a good team, I guess,
Sure. Yeah.
If we got to lose to somebody, I'd rather it be the number 4 team in the league, I guess, than losing to some Chicago or some gross.
Sure, I suppose.
Anyway, opening thoughts?
I mean, everything was fine for 70 minutes, and then it suddenly wasn't.
Yeah. Everything was honestly more than fine.
Yeah.
Starting at the very beginning, we had a new formation. Which was fun. I think I saw it listed as a 4-2-3-1.
Correct.
I think from watching it essentially played just like the 4-3-3 we always play with.
Right. 100%.
Except for our 9 stayed forward.
Mm-hmm.
Which of course it was Zagata, so of course he played forward.
Mm-hmm.
But really other than that, it kind of played the same. I guess it played the same. Obviously we had Radoya and Voltaire that fell back a little bit more and kind of had that double pivot point. But other than that, let's start with, I would love your thoughts on that formation.
You know what? In the years that I've been a Sporting Kansas City fan, I think it's been about 4 years now since I've been closely following the team. This is the first time I've seen Peter Vermes with a different formation. So kudos to him for doing something different when it needed to be. That being said, it didn't make a difference. It was a 4-3-3 with a couple guys playing a little bit different than what we would normally see, but it played exactly the same at the end of the day.
Yeah. Did you like it?
It was fine. You could tell that the players were not very, I don't want to say prepared for it, but you can tell that there wasn't much time spent working on it. It felt like there was some inconsistencies in players being where they should be. There was a couple times where there was breakdowns in the middle of the field where LA Galaxy was getting more time with the ball than what they should have. And until the 70th minute, it didn't seem to matter because our backline seemed to be doing pretty well. But it just felt like there was a bit of discoordination with the team, that they just didn't quite know where people were supposed to be. Part of that I do think comes down to, we had a God up front, we had Voltaire in the back. There's a couple players that weren't normally there. But it just felt like they weren't quite ready for the different formation. And I don't know what that comes down to. It's we probably only practiced it on Thursday, is probably when Peter decided we were going to do it. So I don't know.
Interesting. All right. Not what I thought you were going to say.
Okay.
And I disagree with pretty much everything you just said. I was a big fan of that formation. Okay. I thought it played really well. We created a lot more chances, and we moved the ball way better than we usually do.
Mm-hmm.
I think having that double pivot in the back really helped. Even though they weren't always there, because one would usually push forward. Usually Voltaire would push forward a little bit, but then fall back, and he had that. I would say, just as a quick point, there is no way that Peter introduced that lineup on Thursday. No chance. Okay. They practice it all week. There's no way that you would just come in on Thursday and be like, "Hey, let's try something." I don't. There's no way.
I disagree.
they probably knew they were going to have to do that lineup because of the injuries that were sustained and that we've been working with. So I feel like they had to have another plan, and this is what they came up with. And honestly, I loved it because I thought Polito was playing where he should be playing. He was playing the position that he actually plays, which is more like a number 10. And then we had our 9 who actually plays like a 9 up front.
Sure.
To kind of absorb those chances. And he had like 8 shots. So
he did. He had a
lot. 4 on target. So I think, I don't know. I thought it worked really well. I really liked it until obviously something happened in the 70th minute. And again, we were playing a good team. They were bound to score.
Yeah.
They were bound to score multiple times.
Right.
I'm not even surprised they did that. Frankly, I'm barely surprised that they scored 3 times.
Yeah.
Our problem was we got the 2, and then that was it.
Right.
We couldn't capitalize on the rest of these chances the rest of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I have really early notes here about Galaxy's attack, very dangerous.
Right.
They just keep coming, but our defense and our keeper kept stepping up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you know, sometimes that's what you need. Sometimes you got to have your defense step up because you're playing a team with a really good attack. And sometimes you're only going to score 2 goals in an MLS game is still not horrible.
No, it's not.
So you should be able to win those games. Our defense just fell apart, and you know, we'll get to where actually, I mean, I guess we can talk about it now. But I think our defense falling apart really started with Leibold. I think he looked good for about the first half. And then second half, he started to look a little worse. And then by about the 70th minute was where I really started noticing that I was not impressed with what I was seeing. And then they started scoring, and then it got a lot worse.
Right.
So I don't know. Leibold just kept getting toasted, just absolutely roasted by everybody that came down that side. And they noticed and just started coming down that side every single time.
Right.
So,
yeah, I don't know if I fully agree about Leibold looking horrendous. I can understand he fell apart a little bit in this. Not fell apart. I understand he definitely fell off in the second half a little bit, and he wasn't quite as strong. I do think we are seeing that Leibold is not 90-minute fit. Whether that's just a genuine fitness issue, whether it's he just doesn't have the capability of going 90. But we have to stop relying on Leibold. The problem is that that's not what Peter wants to do. He wants his back line to go 90. And so he's going to continue just doing the exact same thing is the problem. I don't know. I guess I probably do agree. The more I think about it, you're probably right in that. You know, a lot of the problems stemmed from Leibold kind of stopping to be as strong as he did, because it was definitely the situation. And you kind of said this earlier, but it was more of a situation of it's not like LA Galaxy's offense just started going nuts. Their offense was going nuts the entire game. Our defense just stopped being able to stand up to the pressure. And it all started with just a silly goal off of that set piece, ticky-tacked around for a minute, fell to his foot, and he just put it home. And then from there, LA got confidence. We lost some momentum and some confidence, and then it just fell apart. So it was definitely a situation where our defense just stopped performing like they should have. And unfortunately, I think that there's more than Leibold. I think Leibold is at play. I think Valdair, I think he struggled. Rosero struggled. Jake Davis, I had moments as well. Like, it was just truly weak performance all around from the back line from the 70th minute on. I don't know.
Yeah. I think I agree and see what you're saying. I think the difference in my mind, at least from what I was thinking after the game, what I still think, even being a few days out, is the difference was the mistakes and stuff that were coming from the other 3, not Leibold. seemed, and maybe not Voltaire. I don't know for sure, but he's still young, so that he's also not our primary starter. So I
Mhm.
think he goes in with just a little bit less of an expectation already because he's
Mhm.
not our main guy there. But the other two, excuse me, that seemed to me more like the mistakes were coming from they were getting tired and they were just
Yeah.
getting pummeled all game. And they were making those stops, but eventually you're going to get tired, and eventually, stuff sneaks through. It happens.
Yeah.
But to me, it seemed like, like you said, Leibold's not 90-minute fit. I almost think he's not necessarily not 90-minute fit. He's not 90-minute talent.
Mm.
He's just not.
Yeah.
We liked him a lot last year, and I
Mhm.
think it's because he came off the bench most last year,
Right.
mostly.
Mhm.
Like, he came in and played the last 30 minutes of a game or the last 20 minutes of a game.
Right.
And if he's doing that, or even just plays the first half, or maybe he can go a full 60, 65
Mhm.
before he really starts to, because that was about where I was like, okay, we need to get this guy out of here, was about
Right.
65, you know. So he's not going to go a full 90.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's fine. Especially at that position. Like, we have other players that can play those positions, and that's kind of always been one of our positions that got subbed a lot.
Mhm.
Always. Last year he was the sub.
Mhm.
But even before then, for life of me, I cannot remember who we had over there before we had Ndembe and all them. Um,
Uh, yeah,
I,
I can.
I can see his face, but his name is totally slipping me, and I know
Mhm.
I'm going to get roasted for it because it's probably a club legend, but I cannot remember his name. But
Right.
it doesn't matter. That's not my point. My point is we've always had right or left back has always been a position where it's not super frequent that both of them are going all 90. That our
Seth
whole back
Sinovic.
line. That's the one. Yep.
Yeah.
Um, so, like, even Zeusy towards the end of his career, he got subbed halfway through. It's how we found Jake Davis. Well, kind of. Jake Davis
Mm.
was the sub for a couple games, and then it was like, well, it's yours, and then he took
Right.
over. But that was the plan, was he was supposed to be the last 20-minute guy.
Right.
I don't mind that. That doesn't bother me at all. I just like it if I should reword that. It doesn't bother me if we had a coach who consistently used subs.
Right.
If I knew a 65th, 70th minute sub is coming, then
Mhm.
I'm fine if it's like it's left back every game. We know that.
Right.
That sub is coming. Just
Mhm.
honestly, like, now we kind of feel like the Agata for Polito sub is almost always coming.
Right.
Like, before the game, if we're like, what's a sub you are sure they're going to make?
Mhm.
That's one of
Right.
my bets. If left back was another one, I'm fine with it. But
Mhm.
I don't know. It just, if it seems so obvious to me and all the other people that messaged me this week that Leibold was that bad by the 70th minute, how does
Right.
Peter not see it?
I don't know. And I don't I mean, maybe Peter knows something about the song that we don't. Maybe he sees in practice that he's awful.
He
But
hasn't looked bad in a game yet.
no, he hasn't. That's the thing, is we see all this talent and all these players that just sit on the bench. They don't do squat. They
Mhm.
never make it into the game
Felipe
because
Hernandez.
yeah, because Peter just wants his guys. He
Yeah.
wants the 11 that he started for the last couple years. I mean, we're talking about the last decade. How much real is like it's even funny when you look at like the players that do get swapped out occasionally, like whenever a player leaves, we just end up replacing them with either a very similar version of the same player or a worse version of the same player.
Mhm.
Um, but Peter just has his mold that he wants everything to fit into, and he won't let anybody else join the team or be an active participant in the team if it doesn't fit his mold. He's not going to do a lot of substitutions because he never does. And listen, his tactics are old and stale, and they have moderate success. We will win a handful of games. We're probably going to make the playoffs, but
Mhm.
we will never do any more than that because Peter just does the same stuff. And
Yeah,
I'm
you
sick
might be
of it.
right. Maybe we luck into a championship because, like, just because, and the only reason I really say that is because our hold on, sorry, I'm trying to look something up on ESPN and there's just songs going off in my head. I can't
Right.
even concentrate.
Yeah, that
Um,
happens.
maybe we luck into a championship, and but I think that would mostly be because our roster is talented enough to
Mhm.
do it. It just I don't know. It's just frustrating because, like, even like you were talking about, maybe he knows something about Basong and maybe he
Mhm.
isn't as good. I don't care. For 20 minutes, I don't need
Right.
a world-class left back for 20 minutes. I need
Mhm.
a left back who's not winded.
Mhm.
That's all I need.
I
Like,
need you
it's
to
fine.
literally make any attempt to change the course of the game.
Yes. Like, just
The fact that
recognize that he's tired and bring in
Mhm.
a replacement, and that
Yeah.
because that's also gonna help our center backs who
Right.
are also winded
Right.
because they're
Bring
not gonna just get pummeled
Mhm.
constantly.
Bring in a left back, swap one of the wingers for another midfielder, and bring some more defensive, change the formation a little bit. Sub off Polito or Agata for somebody different who again we can bring back to a defensive minded formation. But don't wait until the 83rd minute to make a sub, make a single substitution, and then just watch and let it happen. It's just
Mhm.
I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of the same crap getting put on the field every single week, getting the same show every single time, us blowing leads for no reason, us dropping points, lack of everything. Like, I'm just over it.
Yeah.
I'm so done with the crap. And
Yeah.
it's
It
never going to change.
no, probably not.
Peter's
We
going to
just
get more and more extensions,
yeah.
um, because the club is bringing financial success. So why would ownership care about anything else?
Yeah.
So
And I
I
don't
don't
know,
know.
like, you're right. And, would it be cool to be able to have and are there games even where it really feels like, I don't wanna sub I don't wanna mess with the chemistry that
Hmm.
these 11 guys have going right now because
Sure.
it's working. Those games happen all the time. The
Hmm.
Galaxy are or not the Galaxy, I'm sorry. The, LAFC game is really close because I do think towards the end of that game, we needed some fresh legs, and that would have
Hmm.
helped. But
Hmm.
that was really close to a full 90 where it was like our chemistry was really working that game. And it
Right.
was just like, I don't want to mess with this. I completely understand that mentality. I 100% do because it's true.
Yeah.
If you get a game where your chemistry's rolling, don't mess with it. Just
Hmm.
roll with it. That's how you get goals. You just got to
Right.
let it work. This game felt for about 72 minutes like it was one of those games to
Right.
me because I felt like we were playing well, even if we were, like you were saying, out of position a little bit and maybe didn't seem super familiar with the formation. We were still making it work, and we were, I would say, just borderline under dominating that game.
Hmm.
We were playing really well. So for about 72 minutes, I was like, okay, this team, let's just leave them, let them play.
Hmm.
Then they got that first goal, and it was like, bummer, but we're still winning.
Right.
This team can probably still do it. After that second goal, you got to be like, okay, something's not. This team
Right.
can't do it. And also, Leibold is just walking everywhere.
Hmm.
He's
Right.
just including on the third goal. He's just walking. He's just
Yeah.
walking back, and the ball came from his side,
Hmm.
from the guy who just beat him, and he's just walking to get back, and the guy crosses it in goal.
Hmm.
I'm like, this. I don't know. It's driving me nuts too because I'm like, we got to do something because these are just lost points. And like you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose games. You're gonna lose games at home, especially when you play teams like this.
Right.
I get it, but
Hmm.
when the loss is not, man, they just like we did everything we could, and they just scored 3 goals on us,
Hmm.
and we dropped that. Like that is a bummer and it hurts, but I can live with it.
Right.
But when it's like, oh, they scored 3 goals because our left back was walking for the last 20 minutes,
Hmm.
and they just ran around us and scored. Then it's like, okay, there's things you can do to do.
Yeah.
If he makes those subs, if
Hmm.
he subs in Basong in the 75th minute, right before or even right after the second goal,
Hmm.
and he brings in, like say he subs out Agata and brings in, shoot, I don't know, just another midfielder. Memo was injured, so that's the one I was going to say, but brings in another midfielder and we can kind of
Sure.
shift back to more of a defending thing.
Hmm.
And they still get a third goal and they beat us. They
Hmm.
beat us. They were
Right.
better. I can live with that.
Hmm.
We made those, but this one, it's like they beat us and we didn't make adjustments or try.
Right.
So,
Listen, I have never stopped saying it. I've been less quiet about it at times. I've wanted PV out for years. For the last 2 years, I've been PV is done. He should be gone. He is past his time here at this club. And I understand all the reasons why people would want to keep him around. I understand he's been a legend at this club. He's won so many trophies for us. He's been literally part of this club for 20 years, 20 something years. But at the end of the day, he is not doing what he needs to do to lead this club to success. This team is too good. There's too much talent on this roster for us to drop 7 points over the last 4 games. That is absurd. Sorry, drop 7 points from winning positions in the last 4 out of the last 4 games. That is absurd. And the fact that we beat one of the worst teams in the league 2-1, and it easily could have been 3-2, 4-2 the other direction. And the only reason we didn't draw that game is because of a handball that honestly, like, that's one of those handballs that, like, that easily could have not been a handball if the player's just a little less got his hand up. Like, it's one of those situations where we have dropped so many points and we cannot keep doing it.
Yeah.
So I'm over it. I'm over, Peter, I'm over the whole thing. I'm sick of this team losing games that we shouldn't be losing. So
yeah, I agree. And this is probably the closest I've been to agreeing with you on this stance. I got real close last year, but I think everybody did. That was a lot of frustration going into that, but I don't know. I of course, the forever optimist will always think that, maybe Peter figures something out, but I think it's more of I am just hoping that he figures something out and changes something, because he's not going anywhere. That's been so clear. Like, he's not going anywhere. So he either changes something and we do well, or he doesn't and we lose. So it's like, I don't know how to, I don't really know where to where to lean towards, because it's like, he's not going anywhere. So we got to figure out something.
That's fair.
Maybe if this season ends up being terrible, which I still don't think it will.
No,
I still think this is going to be a good season. We'll be in the playoffs. We'll be fine. We're,
right.
This is an aggravating game in what do they say, in a vacuum? Or like,
yeah,
right now, basically 3 weeks from now, we're not going to care about this game anymore. We're not going to, I think maybe not 3 weeks. I should say by July or August, we're not going to be talking about, the 6th week, whatever we're in, when we lost to the Galaxy. We're not going to talk about that, other than when we play the Galaxy again. Then we probably
I suppose, but it's not necessarily the point, because we're never going to talk about individual results. I mean, that's not really what because we play 34 games in a season. Of course, we're not going to focus on individual results. But at the end of the day, it's just another example of his continued resistance to anything different.
True.
You're right. He did try a different formation, and maybe it had some success. But at the end of the day, he still wouldn't make any subs. He still wouldn't put on any other players that aren't his sporting fit players that fit his mold. It's just his continued refusal to do anything.
True.
So I don't know. I understand what you're saying.
Well,
I agree that he's not going anywhere. But it's the problem is we're always going to make the playoffs. He is good enough to do that, and this team's good enough to do that. That
that's
is
what
the
I
thing.
mean by
Like,
we may backwards. We may fall backwards into a championship, but it's because of our talent level, not our tactics and that kind of stuff. So
right. We will always make the playoffs, which will always be enough for the ownership. His job will never be in jeopardy because we won't ever have a bad enough season. And even if we do, it probably wouldn't matter. Look at 2019. It's just so. Anyway,
yeah.
I think we spent enough time ranting.
Yes, I do too. I have 2 topics that we can. Let's talk about them now, because we forgot to talk about one last week, and it was on my notes, bolded and underlined, and I forgot. So I don't want to forget again. So let's just it's actually not
Do it.
2. It's really one that is 2 that are kind of the same thing.
Okay.
But my dad, avid listener, avid watcher, appreciate you.
Thanks, Steve's dad.
He requested 2 weeks ago. Sorry about this. He wants to know our feelings on his exact words on the stupid win probability that they flash after goals. So I'm curious to get your opinion. I assume everybody knows what we're talking about. They flash it several times throughout the game, but they always flash it after a goal. underneath the
Sure.
scoreboard, they'll show that like
Mhm.
win probability at the beginning of the game and then currently, and it shows all
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. So
Mhm.
this is a perfect game to talk about it, because at one point in the second half, it said we had a 92% chance of winning this game.
Mhm.
So, and we didn't. So I'm curious where you stand on this.
I have absolutely no issues with it. It
Fair
is
enough.
statistics.
Yeah.
It wasn't 100%. It wasn't, they weren't saying we were going to win the game. It is just us in this position. We had a 92% chance to win the game, and obviously this is one of the 8%. Um, I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. I think it's fine. It's statistics. There's people who whose life are numbers and stats, and they feed everything into this massive formula that gets worked on, and it's probably data learning and all that fun stuff, and it spits out a number, and they're like, here's a random number for you. I also don't put much into it. I mean, it's one of those where it's a random number. It's not really gonna tell me a whole lot, and so I don't know. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. And that's exactly what I thought you were going to say.
Okay.
Um, because we've had this exact same conversation, at least in my mind, on expected goals.
Sure.
In my mind, it's
Mhm.
the same thing. They
Okay.
are, I agree with you. They're a stat that somebody figured out and they want to show it. Cool. It is both of them, I think. I know you'll
Mhm.
100% completely meaningless. They're completely meaningless. And this game is the perfect example of why. Because, like I said, at one point in the second half, we had a 92% chance of winning. We also, at the end of this game, had an expected goal of 2.94, and we scored 2 goals. LA
Um,
Galaxy had an expected goal of 1.67
mhm.
and scored 3 and 1. That right there outlines why that is a completely useless stat, and I don't know why we still show it, but some people nerd out about it.
I do strongly disagree with you because we're talking about two different things. We're talking about probability of the whole match result versus individual moments that are tallied up into the team's expected goal.
Mhm.
Expected goal. Those again, we're talking about odds and probabilities here, where a player in that position has a 0.07% chance or a 0.07 chance of scoring a goal in that moment. So their expected goal probability or expected goal number goes up by 0.07. It's just the culmination of the chances that you take throughout the game and what does it add up to. So I wouldn't say it's a useless number. It's just you're you're putting the number in a frame that it's not designed to be used. It's not designed to capture the result of the game. It's not supposed to line up with the score. It's showing what is the expected goal number based on the situations they put themselves in. In
Mhm.
our case, we put ourselves in really good positions this game. We had lots of really good shot opportunities, but we didn't capitalize on those. And so that's why our expected goal is higher than our actual goal compared to the other way around where LA Galaxy didn't have as many good opportunities, but they got lucky on some opportunities and scored some goals that, statistically speaking, wouldn't normally happen. So you're saying it's the number that is like the result of the game when that's not what it is.
I agree, which you are perfectly explaining why it's meaningless. Now,
No,
you're right. Useless may not be the right word.
you're
Meaningless is absolutely the right word.
no, I would disagree completely. Like,
I know you would, but
well, because you're talking like stats are the only reason a stat exists is to tell us the score of the game when it's not. It's telling us part of the game. It's telling us another stat, just like shots. Just because there's 42 shots and 17 on target doesn't mean that any of them scored. Like it's just another stat that tells the story of the game.
sure. But what is the only stat from a game that actually matters?
Sure. Okay. So then why do we talk about any other stat ever?
That's my point.
Okay, so we will never again talk about any stat ever in this podcast. Got it.
I'm saying in the way that they use expected goal, they're always like when they showed it at the end of the game, they're like,
Mhm.
Sporting lost this goal, but check out their XG. They should have won." Okay. but we
I've
didn't,
never
because
heard a commentator use it that way in my life.
the only stat that matters is goals. That's it. It
Right.
doesn't matter how many we could have had or how many statistically we should have had.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter. We
Okay.
scored 2, they scored 3.
Sure. You are absolutely right in the comments that you are making. In the grand scheme of the result of the soccer game, every stat that exists ever is useless.
Nope,
Um,
meaningless.
Meaningless. I am so sorry. In that single scenario, you are 100% correct. Yes. But
Sweet. That was easy.
they do not, that is not what the point of stats are. They are to tell the story of the game. And that is
Sure.
just another stat that exists.
True.
If I was using expected goal differential to say Sporting should have won this game because our expected goals was higher, then of course I'd be stupid. But what I'm
Okay.
saying is
Because you've
when
said that several times.
hang on, let me finish.
Okay.
When we have a higher expected goal differential, that means we put ourselves in better scoring situations. So,
Okay.
yes, we should have won this game because we put ourselves in better situations overall throughout the course of the game. We didn't because we didn't convert them because, again, we never convert and we don't have clinical finishing in the final third. But we put ourselves in better situations throughout the course of the game. That's what it's saying. I mean, when we say we should have won the game, I'm not literally saying we should have won the game because we had a higher expected goal difference or a high expected goal number. I'm not saying MLS should give us the win. I'm just saying we should have won the game because we had more opportunities to score than they did, and we didn't capitalize on those.
I agree. But that also is why that stat is meaningless.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Because you are 100% right. That stat shows why we should have won the game,
Hmm.
but we didn't win the
Correct.
game,
Right.
which means that stat meaningless.
No, it
It's
doesn't.
cool. It's cool that they track it. It is useful. That's what the difference between useless and meaningless is. And if I said useless, that's not what I meant. I meant meaningless. It doesn't affect the game in any way, shape, or form,
Okay.
because or affect
You're
the
right.
outcome that happened.
You're right.
And
100%.
to me, it's on the same level as the where they show the winning probability. Also,
I disagree.
how do you figure the winning probability based like because we're it happens
Right.
all the time. I would be curious to see how many of those end up being right, especially when they show them so early. Because that 92% had to be when we were up 2-0.
Well, it's not a matter of them being right. Again, it's statistics. We're talking about probabilities. They're not saying Sporting are going to win because they're up 2-0 in this situation. They're saying they have a 92% chance to win. If you have a 90% chance of seeing rain, which I understand that's not what the weather forecast means, but aside from the point, if you have 90% chance of seeing rain and you don't see rain, that doesn't mean the weather forecast was wrong. That just means you were in the 10%. Like that's not what probability means.
That's true. So you're right. They're both just stats. They're just like if those stats just went away and I never had to see them again, my life would not change at all. I don't.
I
I don't.
agree with the
And that
probability stat.
and that is the definition of meaningless. I don't need to see that at the 68th minute we have a 92% chance of winning this game. Okay, well there's 30 minutes left and I've watched enough soccer to know that anything could happen.
I agree with you with the within probability stat. I think that is kind of a silly stat because we're talking about statistics and probabilities, and it's just a weird stat for them to care about. I completely disagree with the expected goal differential. I think it's very different because it's talking about the story of the game, which is what stats do. Is they
True.
tell us the story of the game, and they're not being used to determine results. They're not being used to do whatever. They're just being used to tell the story of the game. And if you say expected goal stat is useless or meaningless or whatever word you're trying to use here, that's
Meaningless. I've been pretty clear about that. They're
okay.
different words.
They anyway. Then all stats are meaningless. Sorry, because they also have nothing to do with the final result. So why is there any stat ever except for the score?
Exactly.
Got it.
And I
Okay.
think just a couple weeks ago, we had the same conversation where I was trying to point out that Polito had 3 shots in the game, but
Hmm.
that didn't mean anything
Right.
because it didn't play into how the game turned out. That
Got it.
was your opinion.
Okay.
So I'm saying the same thing about expected goal. It's meaningless. You can tell me we should have scored 2.94 goals. Also, you can't score 0.94 goals, but you can tell me we should have scored 2.94 goals, but we didn't. And we lost.
You're
so
right.
that stat is meaningless.
No, because it said we should have, but we didn't finish the opportunities, which it goes into the story of why we lost the game.
Sure. Yeah.
You're
100%.
really bad at this commentating thing because this is literally what like the story of the game is what you're supposed to care about.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. I'm just saying that expected goal, and I do know Twitter agrees with me. So the expected
Cool.
goal is
I'm sure
it's meaningless. It's just
I'm sure
meaningless.
the entire website of Twitter agrees with you.
I have seen so many tweets about how X or XG is just a meaningless stat that like, okay, why do we care? Why do we
Okay.
care about this?
Okay.
But you're right.
I hear it talked about all the time in post game pressers, especially last year
Yeah.
whenever we well underscored our XG. So
Yeah, we had a
because
really high XG and we didn't win
right,
for 10 games.
right. That talks about why we were losing so many games. It wasn't because we're getting ourselves quality opportunities, but we're finishing. So that tells us part of the story of why we were losing so many games.
Exactly.
That's
I
the
don't think you
point.
understand. I'm agreeing with you that it's a useful stat. There is a use for it. But when it comes down to the result of the game, it is
100% right.
completely meaningless.
You are 100% right. Yes. Why would we ever look at any stats other than the final score? It
Exactly.
means nothing.
Okay.
So I never want to hear you talk about another stat ever again
All right.
because they're
Well,
useless.
there's our
Sorry, they're
weekly
meaningless. They mean
yes.
nothing. They have nothing to do with this with the final result of the game. Got it.
There's our weekly occurrence of Logan not understanding what I'm saying
No, I completely understand what you're
while
saying.
making my point for me. So I
I
appreciate it.
completely understand what you're saying. You are saying that it means nothing in the final result of the game, which I
Yeah,
completely understand.
but
But
it is a useful stat. I
I
have
am not
also said that several times.
okay.
It is a useful stat in other realms.
Okay.
I'm saying when you talk about it in the same realm of this is why they lost the game, no. No,
Okay.
it's meaningless because they scored 3 goals, we scored 2. I don't
Sure.
care what our expected goal is. We lost.
Okay.
It's the same as we have several games where we have 32 shots and we score 1 goal.
Sure.
Those 32 shots are meaningless because none of them went in the one of them went in
You
the
are
net.
right. They are meaningless in
But
the final results of the game. But that's not all we care about. We care about how we got there and why we got there. That
yeah,
matters.
we're agreeing.
Okay.
I have said it several times.
Okay. Let's move on then.
Expected goal is a useful stat.
Okay.
It's just meaningless to the result of the game.
Okay. Let's move on.
We've even said that same thing now.
Okay.
So I'm just curious though, who's your MVP for this game?
Daniel Shawi. Thought he looked great.
All right. That it?
Mhm.
Okay. Cool. Willie got his mine. He had a goal, 8
Sure.
shots, 4 on target. That's impressive stuff, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree. He looked great. There was a couple. He was on my short list, but he had a which this is kind of Willie Agata. I think is he has moments of greatness, and then you have lots. You know, his kind of similar number of moments of just what are you thinkings. There was just a handful of opportunities he had where he makes a little bit better decision. He gets a shot on goal. He gets a better opportunity than what it turned to. So I don't. I I think he just had a few too many of those moments for me to give it to him, but I can see why you would. I thought he did great.
Yeah, for sure.
Looked good on the goal. He was where he needed to be.
Yeah. Who's your MVP?
I think it has to be Peter Vermees. You can't not do anything the entire game and expect it to be okay. So, Peter Vermees. I guess if I have to pick a player, Leibold, but it's more on Peter for not seeing it, not doing something about it.
Yeah, true. I agree. Mine is Leibold. But really for the same reasons, I feel like he had a lot of instances where he just wasn't doing
Mhm.
anything and wasn't running. But you are right. It probably should go to Peter because it's on Peter for not. There's no way he didn't see it, so he
Right.
just didn't do anything about it. But
Mhm.
there's no way you don't not see your left back just walking all over the place.
Right.
But I don't know. That's that. So yeah, Leibold's mine, but you're right. Peter probably should be it.
Fair enough.
But all right. Well, before we get to the best of the rest, real quick, let's hit up our favorite news segment, In Current Corner,
Whoop.
and quickly cover the Kansas City Current, who got another win, another big win too, playing the San Diego Wave in San Diego. Your thoughts on the game?
Didn't get to watch too much of it. I did get to watch the highlights. I didn't get to watch it live. But they looked well. I mean, it is concerning that we've got 3 players, Debahenia being one of them, that are going to be out until the April international break at the earliest. That is pretty unfortunate. But they look decent doing it. They went on the road. They got a good gutsy win. Would like to see a little bit more offensive performance as we keep going. I got used to the 5-goal wins, but defense looked much better, which was obviously a concern after the first game. And I think we have beaten 2 of the top teams from last year. I think they're 2 out of the top 4, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
So looked good. I mean,
Yeah.
great result.
Yeah, big statement win, I think. Rodriguez getting a goal in the 44th minute, and then there was some PK controversy. Went to VAR, did award the PK, rightfully so. And Lo Labonta slots that home, 71st minute. I had an opportunity last week to go on a Game Time Kansas City TV show. I did share that link on Facebook and Twitter if anybody wants to go watch that. That was a lot of fun. That was pretty cool. We talked about current and sporting. I was asked in that game what I thought would be a key factor to the current being able to win this game. And my thing was whether or not we can control Alex Morgan, which I don't know how to interpret if we did or not. She didn't score, but she had 7 shots and 2 of which were on target. So it's like, I don't really know if we controlled her so much, but she did not impact the game to the point where we lost. So, we managed to do that. Addie French, incredible.
Yeah.
She made some saves, 2 of which were back-to-back that were very much like, I don't know how this save was made.
Yeah.
Either one of them.
Agreed.
She's incredible. Yeah, I agree with you. Big team win. That's 2 back-to-back really important wins against 2 really good teams.
Yeah.
So I think that says a lot for us. And you're right. We have some players out, which is unfortunate. But if you can go to San Diego and beat a team like that with those players out, I think we'll be just fine. So I think we're poised for another good run from the Kansas City Current this year.
I agree. It'll be a good year. I'm excited.
Awesome. All right. Well, now, if you will be so kind as to take us around the league with the best of the rest.
Let's do it. So we had opening up the weekend. We had New England Revolution and Chicago Fire playing to a 1-1 draw there. New York Red Bulls putting the beat down on, I think, a messy-less Miami, if I remember correctly. Getting the win 4-0 there. Cincinnati and New York City and NYCFC. Cincinnati getting the win 1-0 there, putting them back on top of the Supporter Shield standings. Toronto and Atlanta. Toronto beating Atlanta 2-0 at their home turf. RSL getting another win, 2-1 over Vancouver. St. Louis and DC United playing to a 2-2 draw there. LAFC putting a beat down on Nashville with the win 5-0. And then closing out the weekend, we had San Jose hosting Seattle. San Jose getting the win 3-2 there.
Nice. There were some good games and some a couple blowouts.
Yeah.
But
yeah, there was a lot of good games for sure.
I know. All right, let's go to everybody's favorite segment. Good, bad, and ugly. Logan, hit me with your good.
So I'm going to cheat like a lot here because there was a lot of really good stories from this week.
Yes.
And so I want to talk about all of them. So I'm going to give you my first good.
Okay.
And then whenever you don't talk about, I'm going to talk about those other ones.
Okay.
So my first one, as everybody knows, I am a licensed referee, so refs are a little close to my heart. And in very exciting news, we have a collective bargaining agreement that has been ratified between the Pro and PSRA, that is the Refs Association and Pro, which is the company that employs them, and we have ratified a bargaining agreement through January of 2031. The lockout is over, folks. Very excited to see it.
Agreed. Same. At least we'll get more consistent. Well, okay, not more consistent because these refs have been very consistent, just consistently bad.
Right. Exactly.
So we will get better calls, though. That'll be nice.
Right. For sure.
Awesome. Cool. All right. My good is, of course, Dos Acero.
Sure.
Again.
Yeah.
That's
agreed.
3 Nations League Cups played, 3 Nations League Cups wins. That's got to be my good. I mean, we got another trophy. It's U.S. Gio Reyna looking great.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait for that kid to, actually get to play in a World Cup. That'd be nice.
Right.
That was a good win. More on that game in 2 more stops. Go ahead and hit us with your bad. Wait, no, you wanted more goods. Yeah.
I want more goods.
Yeah.
One of them was Dos Aceros. But I have a couple points I want to talk about. First of all, the goal from Tyler Adams, an absolute
my God,
gem of a goal. Probably one of the best goals I've ever seen. I don't even think Tyler Adams thought he was going to make that goal. Even I know he said he did, but I'm like, I think you were just peppering at the goal and you got real lucky. But that goal, Gio Reyna making it Dos Aceros, and is truly spectacular call from Chris. I'm going to mispronounce his last name. I think it's Whittingham or something like that.
Sure.
With just one of the classic commentator calls from the Dos Aceros call. Beautiful, just all around. I loved it. It was great.
Yeah.
It
was a good game.
It was a great game.
Well, almost a good entire game.
Right.
More to come.
More to come. The last thing I want to talk about, and this is a fun story that I've loved. New York Red Bulls have had a homegrown player named Julian Hall, who's been on their roster since he was 14 years old. He's been on the senior club roster since he was 14 years old. Wow. And despite him being incredibly talented, he has not been able to play on the club hardly at all. He's made, I think it was 7 appearances over the last 2 seasons. And do you want to know why that's the case?
Because he's Felipe Hernandez's cousin?
Because in the state of New Jersey, child labor laws do not allow a child under the age of 16 to work after 7 p.m. And because all of their games kick off at 7:30, he has not been allowed to play except for games that were during the day. So he's only made a handful of appearances, but he just turned 16 on Sunday. Happy birthday, Julian, and welcome to the league. You finally get to actually play all the time.
Nice. Also, why did you not ask for a trade 2 years ago?
I don't know. There's probably a lot of states that do that. And he's also homegrown, so
I guess, but
kind of
I'd be like, I'll grow my home somewhere else. Somewhere that'll let me play.
Yeah. That's fair.
Also, what a dumb rule. I mean, okay. Sorry. Let me backtrack.
There
that is
you go.
not a dumb rule. That is a dumb rule in this context.
Right. There needs to be some exemption laws around that because obviously this is not the standard situation.
Yeah.
It's not like he was working all day and like I don't know. But anyway.
Yeah, this is different. This is a dumb rule in that context. Not a dumb rule altogether, just in that context.
I'm glad you clarified.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. My bad is the 8 minutes of terror that were the 70th to 88th minute of our game. We just talked about it for 49 minutes and 20 seconds. We don't need to talk about it again.
Sure.
That was my bad. That was just awful.
My bad is the same 8 minutes of horror. More specifically, Peter Vermees refusing to do anything about it.
Yeah, fair enough.
And our uglies, I know, are going to be exactly the same. You are welcome to run with it, and I'll say anything you don't want to say.
Sure. Well, I want to say a lot, but I'm not going to because Logan and I have talked ad nauseum about if we want the explicit tag on our podcast or not, and we have always tried. We've been in agreement with that. We have always tried to make sure that we don't do that.
Sure.
I have to try a lot harder than he does. So I'm not going to say everything I want to say about this particular ugly.
I appreciate that.
But my ugly is this stupid chant, this stupid homophobic chant that the Mexican fans will not get rid of. And moreover, I think the thing that bothers me the most is that FIFA just doesn't care. They just won't. They did something about it, but in reality, the more that I think about it, what they've done about it makes the chant an advantage for the Mexican national team. Because if you're in a situation like they were this game, where your team's like, they're really getting run ragged here. Oh, let's do this chant because it comes with a 5-minute stoppage, and now our players get to catch their breath. That's a clear advantage that you just gave them, and that they know they have the power over. But it drives me nuts because they've been just doing it and doing it and doing it, and they keep having these like pauses. And I think only once has it gone past the actual pause. I think once they went to the locker room for like 10 minutes. I don't know. Frankly, I'm sick of it, and I don't understand why the Mexican national team is still allowed to play in any tournament ever.
Yep.
I personally think they should have a ban for the rest of this year on all competitions. Now, this will never happen because the Mexican national team brings in too much money. But I think they should have a ban for the rest of this year. And if they come back next year and it happens one more time, then they don't get to host the World Cup. Period. Pull it from them. They're done. You're not a host nation anymore. You guys can't, your fans don't care about this thing that we at least like to say that we care about and say that we have a zero tolerance policy, even though I can think of 4 times we've talked about this in our 2 seasons of this podcast. So yeah, that's the PG version of almost everything I want to say about this chant and this whole situation.
Yep.
Your turn.
My turn. I'm going to say a lot of what you just said again because it needs to be said twice.
Awesome.
And also this time around, I'm not going to be the one who is advocating for our explicit tag to not go on there. Mom, if you're listening, I'm sorry. This is fucking bullshit.
Thank you. I'm a little upset Logan got the first F-bomb, but it's fine.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
That we are in the year 2024 and FIFA has this stupid zero tolerance policy, and it still continues to happen every damn game. And it is ridiculous. I am sick of it. It should never have existed in the first place, and it should never continue to exist. And the fact that FIFA and CONCACAF have gone on and on saying, oh, we'll do this, we're doing that, and then they don't, is absurd.
Yeah.
And so I cannot stand this. I cannot stand that it still exists. This is ridiculous, and it has to stop. I'm fine with your plan. I think your plan's great. Ban them for the rest of the year. They're not allowed to participate in any international competitions. And if you do it again, you are not hosting the World Cup. If we have a zero tolerance policy, then let's have a zero tolerance policy. And let's actually show them that money does not rule everything, but we're going to do the right thing. Even if it costs us money, which it will, but we're going to do the right thing because that's what we're supposed to do.
Yep.
So if they're going to do it, then do it. Otherwise, quit talking about this stupid zero tolerance bullshit and just say what it is. It's a sad excuse of trying to do that.
Yeah, trying to appear like you care about this thing.
Exactly.
You know,
I'm over it. I'm so done with this.
Yep.
I cannot believe this is still a thing this time. I'm so done with it.
Me too. And I've seen. We're not even talking about the other thing that Mexican fans love to do, and that's just chuck full beers and batteries at people in the crowd and the players. We're not even talking about that. That's a whole different issue. But you know, every fan base throws beer and water, and they shouldn't, but it happens. They do it. We were at the home opener. It happened there when Philly scored that stoppage time goal. They got pelted with beer and water.
Yeah.
But it wasn't batteries. Nobody was throwing batteries at these people. Like, it's ridiculous. But the chant in and of itself is just so it's also such a dumb chant. It's just so pointless and stupid.
Mm-hmm.
We do the same chant at sporting games. We just don't use a derogatory slur.
Right.
Like, it's not that hard. Just use a different word. The problem is not that you chant when the opposing goalkeeper does goal kicks. That's not a problem. It's the word you decide to yell.
Right.
Just use a different word.
Mm-hmm.
Yell Mexico instead.
Right.
Yell something else, you know?
Yeah.
But I agree. The worst problem here is FIFA and the fact that they care. We're not going to do anything about it. We're going to put out this thing that we're never going to get to step 3 for. But we are going to put out this thing, and don't you do it again. Well, okay. Yeah. Don't do it again, though. Like, honestly, I'd be full support if they just pull the World Cup after this one. I'd be fine with that. I just know they won't do that. So, like, if you really want, you got to give them another year and make sure that it doesn't happen again. Fine. But show the Mexican fan. But the amount of stuff that I saw on Twitter after that game of Mexican fans just being like, get over it, pussies. You know, or whatever they want to throw out on Twitter. It's just like, that just tells me they don't care. Right. They're not going to stop. So,
and I know that all Mexican fans are not represented by this. I know that there's lots
100%.
of fans that do not agree with that. But if you do, it's disgraceful, and you should be ashamed of what you do, of what you're doing. And I am not going to mince words. I think it's disgusting that we're still doing this. So.
Agreed. 100%. I wish they would do something. I have zero faith. I have more faith that Peter makes 5 subs next game than I do that they will ever do anything about this.
Right.
So exactly. I don't think they ever will. I just wish they would. Like, it's just disgusting. And you said it. It's disgraceful. Get rid of it. There's no place for it. And they have the right verbiage as to how there's no place for that. It's on the screen every time it happens.
Right.
There's no place for discrimination. But we're not going to do anything about it. But stop it. Like, drives me nuts. Drives me nuts. That's my ugly. It will be my ugly every single time this happens in a game that I see. I guess I probably don't see all of them, but every time I see that it happens, it will be my ugly until they actually do something about it.
Agreed.
So,
okay.
There you go. My secondary ugly was how bad the Mexican team played. They looked horrible, and it made me happy. So,
fair enough.
Awesome. Let's transition to next week.
Let's do it.
We get to play another really good team.
Oh, look at that.
Why can't we just play another bad? We only got one bad team in this first 10 games. It's ridiculous.
Every year, the schedule makers find a way to hose us.
Now, I can't blame the schedule makers on this one. Toronto was terrible last year.
That's true.
The fact that they're on the list of good teams, that nobody saw that coming.
So that's true.
I can't really give them that. So, but we are playing at Toronto. They are 3-1-1. They are 1 point off of first place in the East. It is worth noting there are 5 teams currently tied for second place with that 10-point mark. So the
4.
East is tied. Oh, 4. Sorry, whatever.
Miami, Red Bulls, Columbus, and Toronto.
Right. Okay. Yeah, so they are second place. Win-loss, win-win draw in their last 5. Tough team. We are on the road. What are your thoughts?
It's not going to be good. Peter's going to do exactly what he's done. We're going to fly all the way up to Toronto, and we're going to get our butts whipped 3-2.
All right. Toronto. I'm not entirely confident that you are not going to be 100% right on this one. I think it's going to be a rough one. I trust the talent on our team to be able to score a couple goals, and our defense has looked pretty good despite Peter trying to not let them be good. So I'm going with a 2-2 draw. But I think all in all, I think you are going to be right. And I'm going to agree with you, and you're going to be right about everything except that third goal. I think we're going to just get lucky, and we're going to be thanking our stars we got out with a draw. I think that's what we're probably looking at. I think.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Be it a Jake Davis sliding tackle or a Tim Mealy, a back-to-back ridiculous save keeps us from losing that game.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
So I think we draw this game despite Peter's poor coaching, probably. But
that would be nice.
That's what I'm going with. No point update. You and I both thought we were going to win 2-1 last week. We were wrong, but we did get our goals right. We don't get points for that, but it's something. All right. This is a bit of a longer episode. Let's get these people out of here. If you guys don't mind, hit us up on Twitter, PTW_pod. We've been fun on Twitter lately. I think Logan was live tweeting.
There you go.
Funnily enough, our videos were switched earlier, so that would have been right, but then we
Yeah, it
fixed
would've.
it. Now it's not. But
Yeah.
Logan's been live tweeting on Twitter, so I assume that'll keep happening. I think you enjoyed it, so why not?
Yeah, probably. I probably won't do it for away games because if I'm sitting at home, like I'm far less motivated to like work and I just want to watch the
Sure,
game. But like if
sure.
I'm at the game, like yeah, I'll do it.
Sure. Well, if people like our live tweets, let me know. I'm happy to do the away games.
There you go.
Because I know my setup for watching games is a little different than you. I have 3 monitors and I sit at my desk. So
Right.
way easier for me to throw Twitter up on my 3rd monitor and live tweet. Not a problem.
Very true.
So, if you like it, let us know. Again, on Twitter, PTW_pod. Facebook, Paintball Podcast. That's the same as our email, paintballpodcast@gmail.com. And on YouTube, if you're not already watching this, you do need the @ PTW_pod. We'll get you over to all of our videos. That's all I got.
Right.
Logan, I appreciate you as always.
Appreciate you, Steve.
You guys have a good week.
See you guys.